Karen and I have been friends with David for over 20 years, so we're very, very close.
Never in a million years would I have suspected that Bruna would leave David and not even give him the option of having shared custody with his child. I was floored that she would ever do something like this.
It's been such a battle for the past 4 years, and the things that he's had to go through and the trips he's had to take and the financial debt he's had to incur.
David is a shell of a man. When you look at him, the sadness that emanates from him is so overwhelming. He is a completely changed man.
Well, today we're talking to parents who say their children were wrongfully taken from them and are fighting to bring them home. Now, David was shocked when his wife Bruna took his 4-year-old son to Brazil in 2004 with apparently no intentions of returning whatsoever. Now, tragically, Bruna died earlier this year, but David is still not allowed to bring Sean, now 8 years old, home back here to the U.S. with his biological father. He's at war with the boy's Brazilian stepfather, and David says this man is trying to have his name, David's name, removed from the child's birth certificate. And he's the biological father. Now, joining us today are Stephen and Karen, who knew both David and Bruna. They say Bruna devastated a lot of people when she left the country with Sean. Did she ever confide anything in you at all? Just woman to woman, anything at all?
She never alluded to being unhappy in any way, shape, or form. In fact, the opposite. All of her friends, we were so envious of their relationship. They were the happiest, most loving threesome, you know, with the child just being the core of their life.
Well, did you have any inkling?
Absolutely not. A bunch of us had gone out to a dinner the week prior to the whole thing happening, and nobody saw anything. It was an absolute shock the day he called me.
Well, let's try and figure this out. Joining us via satellite from New York is David's attorney, Patricia Appy. Now, Patricia, this is so outrageous, I can't even describe it. What in the world is going on here?
This is a case, you know, usually when you have custody issues, someone always stops you in the middle of the story and says, there are two sides to this story. Well, from a legal perspective, I can assure you there are not two sides to the story. There's one side to the story from an international legal perspective. The Brazilian court hearing that case found that Sean had been wrongfully removed and retained, found that his habitual residence was the United States, but found also that the process had taken so long, and that was because of the delays that were occasioned by Bruna and her family, that they were not going to return the child.
What breaks this loose? I mean, we've got millions of viewers watching this right now. Who do they write? Who do they cry outrage to? How do we get people to pay attention to this?
Well, first of all, we're having this conversation, and that takes us a long way on that path. The other is that you know, you have to understand that the Department of State and our government has an interest not just in Sean's case, but in all the international child abduction cases, and there are many. And their dog in the fight, if you will, is the interests of the American people. What is unique about this case, and what I have seen both elected officials as well as our State Department begin to address, is that we are off the track. This is not the normal treaty case. This is a situation in which Brazil is being really called upon to demonstrate that it is in reciprocity with the United States. It's following its treaty obligations. And I think that folks who want to write should write to the United States Department of State, Office of Children's Issues, and of course to their elected representatives and say, look, we want to understand what's going on here, and should Brazil be made and be asked and encouraged to immediately comply with the treaty obligations. That type of scrutiny is what's required here.
Well, we're going to put all of those links up on the website. David, have you...
Good deal.
What happens when you go to Brazil? When you go down there and try to see your son, do you know where he is physically?
The last time I was in Brazil was a week ago. There was a federal court order giving me visitation, at the very least visitation with my son for the first time in 4 years. I show up Saturday morning to the address that he had given the federal courts twice, and he's not there. He left his new baby, a month-old baby, his own child, with my ex-in-laws, and he left. and they're sitting there with his baby and he's off with my son.
Now, he's a lawyer, right?
He's a lawyer who specializes in exactly what he's fighting against, international child abduction.
Not that it's about money at all, because I know it isn't, but how much money have you spent trying to get this child back that should, under the Hague Treaty, been returned to you immediately?
Somewhere in the range of $350,000.
And you're not going to give up on this?
Never.
I mean,
How can you
you
give
are
up on
going to
yourself?
pursue this until you get your son back. And, you know, we're behind you 100%. Look, on our website, we are going to have links. And I think you should write to your elected officials. I think you should get in touch with the links that we're going to put up that Patricia referenced earlier, to let them know how strongly you feel about this. I mean, I know it's a busy time, but it's not too busy for the people we're paying to do their jobs as our politicians to step up and enforce this treaty and do what they have to do to get you the help you need to get your son back. So we're behind you. Patricia, thank you. All right, coming up, we're going to meet a mother who was on the run with her baby for months before being captured by the authorities. So we're going to see the other side of this kind of drama when we come back.